Water. It's fundamental to our lives and environment. You need it every day. This is why Operation Unite has developed the Know Your Water program for Water Well users. Becoming a member of the Know Your Water program makes your life's water needs more manageable. It provides the information you need and teaches you how to use it. Call Operation Unite today, area code 530-263-1007, or email Steve Baker at operationunite.co. Operation Unite can help, and the Know Your Water program is the answer. Area code 530-263-1007. Operation Unite brings people together to solve water problems.
We will always have water working together. I'm Steve Baker. We're here at Ananda Village, located in the San Juan Ridge in Nevada County, California. This is a wonderful place, something like 700 acres of beautiful forested land in the Sierra Nevada mountains. These people, it's a community of 200, have developed a way of managing their groundwater supply in a fashion that allows them to adapt their lifestyle behaviors. It's something I've been pitching for a very long time. So we are going to go ahead and meet their head person in the water department right now. Well, we have arrived here at the center spot of Ananda Village, and Ottman's office is just around the corner, so let's go over there. This is a perfect example of a decision made by the powers that be here at Ananda Village. They chose not to maintain water in this structure here, so that just a part of the management of the water supply here at Ananda Village. Ottman, can you share with our viewers here what Ananda Village is?
Ananda Village is a cooperative spiritual community that's been here since 1969. We have about 200 residents on 700 acres. We have a school, a retreat facility, businesses. The idea is that we have all our jobs, work, worship, recreation all in one place, and we manage the village cooperatively. So the land is owned by a nonprofit, and we work together on sustainability, on our resource management, on housing, on businesses.
So I would say, I met you guys probably 15 years ago, and about 10 years ago, we actually started a groundwater monitoring program together, which was wonderful. We learned together what was happening beneath our feet, and this of course is a fractured rock aquifer system that basically the 200 people are thriving as a result of. It's a very productive water supply for you guys here. What has it been like just historically as far as your water supply? And are you really noticing anything now?
Yeah, it's been, historically we started running on just one or two wells and some springs, and gradually we developed our infrastructure. But when you came, we got a much better idea of what was really happening underneath by putting pressure transducers and data loggers in the well, constantly monitoring well levels. We brought new wells online. This is one of our pressure transducers that's not in the well. This goes down in the well. This cord comes up to the top, and there we can log what the depth to water is on whatever interval we set. So it can be once an hour, once every 15 minutes. And then that gives us a really good picture of what's happening underneath, because as you pointed out, we don't really know where this water comes from or what the recharge is. We suspect it's fairly local. We've looked at the geology of the area. We've mapped out we're on the intersection of different lithic zones. We have a good sort of mini aquifer condition, which is somewhat rare up here in the foothills. And we're on a water abundant property that we've seen lots of seeps and springs and ponds. But this comprehensive program allows us to look to the future and say, what really is sustainable? How many people can we support here? The development here has been very slow, which is good. It's not like a developer who comes in and suddenly rolls out a whole bunch of houses and leaves. We're the ones that live here. We live with our consequences, and we manage it, and we look at what we're doing. So initially, we did not do a lot of gardening or farming. We just didn't have the developed water resources. We found some really good wells, some 60-gallon-a-minute well, 50-gallon-a-minute well, 20-gallon-a-minute well. And gradually, we started developing those. We did a little bit more with landscaping at our retreat facility. We did a little bit more gardening, a little bit more vegetable production. But we have to keep a real eye on it. Water is probably the limiting resource here, and we're looking at expanding now, but we want to make sure we know what's going on under the ground and that we're keeping our aquifer healthy. So one of the main things we look at is, as we said, water levels in the well. Where are we in relation to those water-producing fractures? We don't want to dewater any fracture. We want to make sure that there's always water coming in, so we keep the system in its dynamic equilibrium. Go ahead.
And, another thing, what's so important about that is not only do you have sustainability of your own supply, but this also allows the neighbors to also have continued water. If you don't empty out those fractures, if they remain full, then, hey, water keeps on flowing to all the neighbors down gradient, and everyone is happy, and that's where we're a community. And in fact, that also is such an important thing, a unique aspect of this community. This is a tight community of cooperation, and you have to know your water, as I said earlier when we first arrived, but also we have to have the desire to work with one another, and that is a very strong component in what is provided right here at Ananda Village. Well, I would love to see again one of the monitoring sites. Maybe we can show the viewers how this data logger actually looks in the field when it's collecting data. And why don't we do that? Can we take a visit?
Let's go out to the Turtle Well, and we can see what this looks like and how we download the data and what comes out of that.
All right, great. It's been a while. We had just arrived here at the Turtle Well. This is the last well that we actually tested. We did an aquifer pumping test, a 10-day aquifer pumping test a couple years back. And Admin, you've done a lot here. This wellhead is Cadillac. Whoever made this really was, they must have put a lot of thought into it. What we have done at these water wells, this is just an example of really all the water wells, is installed these data loggers. Again, I showed you this in Ottman's office, but the data logger is this part here, and the sensor that goes in the well is this piece right here. It is suspended under the water level, almost to the bottom of the well. And in this case, I don't remember how deep this well is. Was it a couple hundred feet?
Yeah, the well is about 250 feet deep, I think.
Okay, a 250-foot well. So let me show you how we actually hooked the computer up with the data logger. All right, well, this is the other end of our cable that's coming from the data logger, and we have our computer here. This is so nice. We have a desk. It makes it easy to use. Anyhow, I'm going to attach this cable into my computer, and then we're going to go ahead and turn on the computer. At this point, all we have to do is tell the data logger, hey, I want all that data that you've been collecting, and it will download the data to our computer, which we then store in the computer, take back to the office, and generate the analysis and the maps and graphs and things that we need to manage this particular well. What you're looking at here is your typical rural residential well. Very simple, but we have specific strategies in order here. We have a hose bib right here, a tap, which allows us very close to the well to collect a water sample. And that's important because we need to know what the water quality is on occasion of the aquifer itself. Well, the best way to do that is turn on this well, let it pump for a significant period of time, and then sample at the wellhead at this point right here. Also in this well, and I'm always suggesting this at other rural residential properties, it's important to have a meter attached so that you know how much water you're pulling from your well. It's, again, very useful, very helpful to be used along with the water level data to help you manage your groundwater supply. At normal rural residential properties, I'm usually coming to a site and downloading twice a year. Commonly, people don't have the time or the money to pay for something more than that. But your circumstances here at the Ananda Village are a little bit different. Maybe you can explain how frequently you sample and collect your data.
Yeah, we're a licensed rural small water system, so we have to pay a lot more attention. During the winter months, we may come out once every 3 months, once every 6 months, when it's not a big demand. We don't think there's a lot going on. But right now, we're in the middle of a drought. We've really geared up our groundwater monitoring program and linking that with the demand and trying to really see what's going on. So we come out once a month and do this, and we've upped the sampling from once every 45 minutes to once every 15 minutes. And this really allows us to see exactly what's happening during the day, how far it goes down, what the pump cycles are doing, and really get a close picture. We analyze that. We bring all the data together, meter data, demand data, and depth to water, and we analyze that once a month now.
Well, I would love to see, why don't we do some of our own analyzing now and go back to your office and look at some of the curves that you've generated from this data. Well, Atman, Leah just brought over the most recent data that we have here. I'm looking at the Dairy Well Hydrograph, which is the water levels across a huge piece of time back when we started, 2006. Remember that far back? All the way to present. And this is really a good illustration of how you have maintained full fractures. The fracture system looks like it's at 75 feet, and we never have lowered our water levels in that well, in the dairy well, to those depths, which is wonderful because we kept those fractures full. It looks like in the middle, back in 2000, after 2006, so 2007, 2008, we had significant decline of our pump water level, which had us wondering. You remember that?
Yeah, we needed to, that was when we first got this data together, and you said, you know, this trend is not, it's okay right now, but it's a worrying trend. What can we do to change this? Well, Mother Nature helped us out a little bit. We got some better rainfall, but we also started paying attention to pumping regimes. We started using another of our wells. We started bringing another one online, and we allowed this one to recover a little bit more. And that experience was actually really important when we got to the current drought, because we saw, okay, we don't want to get down to that level. We really need to rechange the regime here. And we were watching it very carefully. We knew as the drought came in, we didn't want to go down there. And so we were able, through conservation and through switching to a different well, doing a little bit different winter pumping regime, we were able to give this a rest. And our lowest levels in the last 3 years of drought have been above what they were in 06, 7, and 8.
Yeah, that's really true. And we actually have another graph here that illustrates the behaviors, the actual lifestyle behaviors, and how that had a huge improvement impact on your wells. On this scatter plot, what we've done is plotted the water levels for each year, and we plopped them right on top of each other, and they're color coded, as you can see, with different colors. If you look at the green plot, that plot dipped way below the typical water levels encountered during that time of year. Well, you know what? That was last year. Remember that? And we had a big powwow here at Ananda Village, and had lots of discussion wrapped around how should we respond to this. And what we came up with was to distribute the stress across the aquifer in a different fashion so that we don't have areas that are of high intensity stress causing something like this, but instead spread it across the 700 acres as much as possible so that we continue with positive trends in our water levels and water quality and so forth. And so we made that change. And what's so interesting in this graph is that we made the change, and it wasn't until several weeks later that we actually had rain last year, so we know as a result of that the reason for the water level improvements, the water level went up, remember? And it was because of us, our lifestyle changes. It was not because, it rained, and so it's because Mother Nature just brought on more rain. It wasn't that. It was our behaviors. Case in point, you got to know your water, right, to begin to make decisions, and then you adjust your lifestyles to match what's happening right now.
Yeah, this was the early warning for us that the drought was getting serious. We had people. 2014, we didn't have any rain or very little rain in December and January, and we needed to start irrigating again. People were turning on irrigation, which never happens at that time of year typically. And it was a wake up for us. Said, wait a minute, we're in a drought. We're seeing things that we don't like here. And so we not only distributed on the supply side, we started working very closely on the demand side. So we had community meetings. We got people together. We put out targets. We gave people feedback, monthly feedback of what's your water? What were you doing last year? What are you doing now? Here's our target rate of we went for a 20% reduction in use, and people responded very well. They were given a gallons per person per day figure because we know how many people live at each water connection, and so there was a direct feedback that they could compare to other people. We had people who some had big gardens, some had no landscaping, and we tried to give people some feedback, some tips of what they could do, and people responded really well. We were able to save overall as the whole community wide 22% through June through November of last year, which we're really happy about.
Yeah, I remember last year there was a lot of community involvement and attention towards this. You had invited me down here to actually speak in front of everybody one evening, and the receptivity within the group, the questions that were asked were great. I mean, we at that time were trying to point out to people that not only do we have these issues right here at Ananda Village, these things we need to be careful of, but also it exists, it's present in other parts of the country, like the state of Washington, like the Ogallala Formation, which is a very important aquifer located in Colorado, Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, and so forth. So what we are doing here, actually, the attitude we're projecting here is the same attitude that we would like to see in other parts of the country as well. And, last point, something very interesting. We have 5 or 6 wells here that you're utilizing to some degree, but one of them in particular, it's called the Roth Well. What is so unique and I think valuable for the Ananda Village is the behavior as seen through the water levels in the Roth Well is different than all the other wells. And so what that tells me is when one well goes dry, another one will be stronger. This is one of our wells that could be the strong well during periods of time when, say, the dairy well or one of the other wells is having a harder time. It's a good backup. And so it's always nice to have multiple choices of wells on a property that actually behave differently because their vulnerability is different. Don't you say so?
Yeah. No, definitely. This well, as you pointed out to us, it looks like a big underground tank. There's lots of water there. When we first did a pump test, we were getting 45 gallons a minute. We thought, great, another really good well. Well, after the pump test, we pumped it nonstop for 10 days as per state regulations for a public water system, and it didn't recover. It took our other wells within 3 or 4 days was back up to the water level where we started. This one didn't come back. It took 40 or 50 days to come back to make up all that water we had pumped out. So as you pointed out, what that points out is we have a large capacity underground, but we don't have as much recharge. So it's basically having another tank, a tank that nature has given us. So typically when you turn on a well, you'll see a drawdown immediately. Then as you're pumping, it'll stay at that level. You turn off the pump and the water level comes back up. This one, you turn on the pump, the water level doesn't budge. You pump for, your 4, 5, 10 hours, the water level stays right there. And all we saw was just general, very slow water level movement over the season. So as we pumped out, it would go down, just like you were emptying a large tank. Then we'd rest it during the winter, and it would gradually come back up.
And one of the greatest benefits that we decided from a logistical standpoint is why not consider the Roth Well, the one that behaves so differently, as the well that we use to provide that extra bit of water for peak flow in the summertime, whether it be for the garden, the big large gardens that you have here, or for the supplies in people's homes.
Yeah, no, we use it as right now it's in our plans as a peaking factor, and I think we've been pretty conservative with it. Again, the real proof will come as we get more and more years of data in different weather conditions, different demand regimes. We'll just have to see how they react. And so I I feel confident in the system we have in here that we can support more development here, but we need to be very careful. This is obviously a limiting resource. What would not work is to suddenly say, let's double our population right now and just see what happens. We're going to move into this very gradually as we grow, and we'll look and see what's happening to the wells. Can we sustain this? Do we have the water resources that we need? And can we adjust lifestyles to meet those supplies?
You know, a question I have for you, and this comes from a very enthusiastic hydrogeologist, is I love these toys, these data loggers, and you've been exploring some of these data loggers that actually can talk to you while you're sitting at your desk. In the moment, it's all radio controlled. Are you moving forward on that?
I would very, very much like to do that. You got me going here with this, and it's right now, it takes a fair amount of time. We have to go download. We have to process the data by hand. There are, in the drought and in the increased awareness of water, there are vendors who are coming together, who are putting systems together. This one is especially for small water systems. I think it's out of the Santa Rosa area. And they've programmed boxes that you can put in your well house that'll read water levels, it'll read pump levels, it can read tank levels, and it can all put it back real-time data onto an internet-based interface. And so we can take all 4 or 5 of our wells, we can bring those up on the screen, and we can actually even control what's going on. We can shut a pump down, turn it on. So it's not an inexpensive system, and we're moving there. We're looking at how we can raise the funds. But I think long-term, we're committed to doing this. And when you just look at the labor-saving time of having it all processed for you, it'll probably pay for itself rather quickly. Not to mention the fact that we have to go out there in the field and download it. If something happened to our well, we may not know for, in between downloads, a couple of weeks or something. Whereas this one, you can log on from sitting in your office and see what's happening in the water system. So I'm really enthusiastic about it, and we are hoping to pursue that.
Knowing your water is one big part of it, but the other part is lifestyle change. Are there some people available maybe we can visit with today that could show us what they're doing in their own households to conserve water?
We can try to we'll see if we can find some people. There are some people who have amazed me, their response. And not everybody's the same, but, overall we've hit a very good balance of reduction. But there are some people who have really taken this to heart, and I'm just amazed at what they've been able to do. There's people down at 11 to 15 gallons per person per day in a household, including keeping landscaping going. We don't have very many lawns out here. We're in a rural area, and we made a decision that this is we're going to put our water into some focused areas of landscaping, and mostly around houses. We're not going to do the typical suburban lawn. It just doesn't make sense with the resources we have. But some people have had some incredible responses, so maybe we can get someone to talk to us.
I wanted to introduce you to some of the people actually living here at Ananda Village. We have Sitabai here, who has been here for quite a number of years, and she is very on top of saving water. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hey, thanks, Steve. One of the main things that I work with on water is just to make sure that everywhere that water runs, I let it run as little as possible. So I start with the kitchen. First thing I do is, sometimes you want that water to be coming out hot. And so you throw it on hot, you let it run for a bit, and then that water's just going right down the drain. So what I do is I take my little bucket here, I put it under the sink, the tap, and I put that hot water on. It might fill a couple inches in there before it's hot. And then I actually wash my dishes in that, my morning dishes, and I use a biodegradable soap. And so I wash the dishes right into the bucket. At the end of my morning routine, I've got about 2/3 of a bucket of water, and I go outside and I water my pansies. So basically my outside landscaping doesn't get potable water for watering those flowers. I have lovely, lovely flowers on my front porch. And then I look at other ways that I can save water. If you step into the bathroom, there's 3 water sources. I've got the sink, the toilet, and the shower tub. So the toilet, obviously, fewer flushes. The sink, if I'm brushing my teeth, what do? I turn it on to wet the toothbrush, turn it off, brush my teeth, turn it on for 5 or 10 seconds to rinse and spit. Done. Shower, when you turn that shower on, put a bucket under the spigot when it's first heating up again. And then also when you're showering, that is still collecting any overflow, because sometimes some of that water is still coming out even though you're showering and you've sent it up to the shower head. When you're done, Once again, you take that bucket outside, water your pansies or whatever else, and then you're good. You've collected quite a bit of water, and basically it's your own gray water system without a lot of expense. And then finally, for my outdoor landscaping, the rest of my landscaping I've got on a really simple timer system, and it's just a sweat soaker hose. It's on 20 minutes twice a week. And you know what? What I find is that at the end of the season, August, September, I'm looking at some kind of dry looking plants. You know, they start to look a little fatigued for the sun and the dryness. But I never worry about that. At first it's like, oh, am I killing my plants? But you know what? I've been doing this 3 or 4 years, and they always recover. We get through the winter, my plants and my whole garden looks really lush again, and I'm really happy with it, and I know it's going to make its way through again. So those are some of my basics that I work with constantly, and really have pretty low water consumption.
Steve, I also remember something that Ottman shared with me, and that was that as a water department, they're very much concerned and aware of if there are any leaks in the system. And this is something that the community members also participate in. You can actually leak a lot of water without even realizing it. So with this added benefit to what the water department does in support of using less water, the community is saving a lot of water. This is wonderful. And what you're doing is really representative of what many people here are doing at Ananda Village.
Now we're outside in front of my house. This garden area we share with about 11 total residents here in a kind of a group housing complex. And so together we take care of the watering. I put the watering system on a timer so that it does a drip water about 20 minutes twice a week. What I have here is some bamboo, rosemary, lavender, a lot of drought-tolerant plants just to start with, and then also some hypericum. So altogether, it doesn't get that much water. I see it start to get kind of drought-fatigued by the time the fall comes, and I never really worry about that because it always perks right back up when it gets to be spring and summer again.
Well, Dave is another community member here at Ananda Village, and it's a very cozy place here. Dave, how you doing? You have such a wonderful little spot to hang your hat here. And of course, like everyone else at Ananda Village, you are thinking about saving water. We are in a 4th consecutive year of drought, and everyone's taking their part in this community. What part are you taking in saving water?
Well, I don't have much of any landscaping, and I figured out that a lot of times you don't really need all the grass and all the flowers and everything. That if you take really good care of what you do have, that's what's pretty, and that's what I enjoy is like a well-maintained place, not necessarily, all this fancy stuff. And so that's what I've done, and I'm just as happy having no landscaping and as having a big fancy garden, because then you got to take care of it and all that other stuff. So
what about indoor? We use 1/3 of our water in the bathroom. You guys take Navy showers here?
Well, I live alone, so I don't take a shower every day, and I take, when I have water sitting in the my pots, I put that in the plants. I have a fair number of plants, but they're inside, so they don't take that much water. And I think people shower too much in America today, and they end up losing all the oil on their skin. So it's not a good thing to wash all the time, because it's not good for your skin.
So you speak on that topic because you're actually an MD, is that right? Or maybe a retired MD right now?
I'm actually an osteopathic physician, family physician, semi-retired.
Semi-retired. Well, you picked a nice spot to hang your hat. To semi-retire. This is an example of a gentleman who really is thrifty in his water use during times where we really do have to be thrifty. So, Dave, thanks for sharing today, and you are very much like everyone else here, wonderfully receptive to reducing their water, reducing their use of water, and also staying tight with one another. It's a true community.
Yeah, and it's not really that hard to do, and it's not really a hardship to watch your water. I'm just as happy not using water as, using it to excess.
I really see Ananda Village as a success story in managing, knowing your water, knowing what's going on underneath the ground, but also in people working together. This really is something great, and I'm hoping that all rural, residential, and small farms around our country will look at this and pull some value from it.
Yeah, it's been great for us too. I think it's something that is helping us in this drought. It's helping us with planning, but it's also helping bring us all together and manage our resources together. And it's part of what we are. We're a cooperative community trying to be as sustainable as we can. So it's been great for us too. And we're definitely going to continue it into the future.
Well, I'd like to encourage everybody, all the listeners, viewers, to come back and watch again. We thank you for this Faces in the Drought, and there will be many more. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Responding to changing groundwater conditions requires knowing your water and adapting your water use. Operation Unite helps with both. Become a Know Your Water member and easily manage your groundwater. Call area code 530-263-1007 or email Steve Baker at operationunite.co.